Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Stories That Inspire Us / the author series. You know, the author series came to me in such a way, sometimes you get these messages and you're not really sure what to do with it. And I am so excited to have on today another amazing guest. And of course, as we all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we're just going to hop right on into it. Today, I have the amazing Katherine Marie. So Katherine, welcome so much to the Stories That Inspire Us podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Janice. I'm excited to be here and I'm so happy to be talking with you today.
Wonderful. Same here for me. So I'm going to show your book. And obviously our listeners obviously can't see the book, but the name of her book is Fearless Action: Strategies and Stories to Help You Manage Your Fears and Pursue Your Goals. Now, Katherine, before we start chatting about your book, I just really want to read something, if you don't mind, from the back of your book, because I think there's just so many things that stick out to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you ever find yourself saying, I know, I should, but you remain in the same place, not pursuing your goals? So I want to start there, because as I said that, I really visioned you sitting at your desk, working on your book, sharing your story in such an authentic way that it inspires others. So why, number one, did you want to write this book? Because I think that's so important for our viewers and listeners to hear that.
Absolutely. Why did I want to write this book? So Fearless Action came about actually naturally as part of my mission to make an impact in the world and make an impact with others. After starting my Inspired Vitality coaching business in 2018, I had opportunities to do some public speaking and I really enjoyed it. It was early 2019 when I had opportunities to do public speaking. That was early 2020. And I was working on partnerships to do more speaking engagements, and then everything shut down. Mm-hmm. So then I kind of regrouped and I thought, well, how can I reach people? How can I make an impact? So I started my Inspired Vitality YouTube channel, and the book just kind of evolved as a natural progression to reach more people and spread the impact and get information to the people that need it. So it just really evolved naturally in my effort to make an impact and help others. Now, if you'd like to talk about that strategy, I'm happy to do that now, or if you want to do it later, if you want to hear more about my story first, I'll take the lead from you, Janice.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. And you have spread the impact in such a way. I want to also go back just a little bit more to your specific story, because I think that is so relevant to how you wrote Fearless Action.
Yes, goodness sakes. It's one of those things where do I begin? And so I'll just give you a brief outline and you can ask questions from there. So my story actually begins in 2000 when I gave birth to premature twins. And they were born at 25 weeks gestation, weighing less than, the boy-girl twins weighing less than 3 pounds together. And I give that as context to explain that I was fully immersed in the medical community and have these 2 children that are still to this day have multiple diagnoses and highly dependent on me. Fast forward to 2015, and I went for an annual checkup, and I was, after testing, etc. I can dive into details if you want, but I went for, my initial appointment, my doctor found a lump, sent me for diagnostic testing, and then that led to a biopsy, and that led to being diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And of course, my first thought was my children, who, like I said, have multiple diagnoses. And I mentioned them because when I was at the diagnostic testing, the ultrasound and the biopsy, the ultrasound technologist was doing the testing. She went and got a radiologist, and she came back. And she came back with a radiologist, and he had a look on his face. And it was a look I had become familiar with when my children were in the hospital. And that's a look of being concerned, but not wanting to say too much. And that gave me insight as to the fact that this situation was very, very serious. So I suspected that the biopsy would result in a cancer diagnosis before I even went in for the testing. Not that I was manifesting it, but I was putting pieces of the puzzle together. And so after I was officially diagnosed, 3 weeks later, I was in surgery having a double mastectomy. And then once I recovered from that, I started 5 months of chemotherapy. And once I recovered from that, I had 6 weeks of radiation. I opted to do a delayed reconstruction. So I did not begin that process until it was June of 2016. So my official diagnosis was March of 2015. I didn't begin reconstruction until June of 2016. And that was a 1.5 year long process and 4 surgeries.
Wow. And I'm so, first of all, so sorry that any woman has to go through that. And when you had mentioned when you were diagnosed and you're seeing the look on the radiologist's face, the first thing that you thought of was your children.
Right.
Because they are dependent upon you. So you're dealing with this potentially, which it is for everyone, a life-threatening situation. And also, you know, what your children need from you.
Exactly.
And I can't say that I know what that is like. I don't. But I'm feeling that it was very emotional, like this sheer, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
So many different things happening all at once for you, but in a very quick amount of time.
Right. Very, very fast. My oncologist would have had me in surgery sooner if it would have worked out with the surgeon. And I even said to him, I need time to get my life in order. I have these 2 children that, although they were almost 15 at the time, were very dependent on me. So that just added another layer of complication. But from that moment of diagnosis, and I think because what people don't understand with the friends and the family, what people don't understand is for the patient, there's buildup. There's, the initial concern, there's the testing that can go on for weeks. So at the moment of diagnosis, it was more like, okay, I have an answer. It was kind of a resolve of, okay, now I know what I'm dealing with. So now let's come up with a plan. And for me in that moment, because I think I have these 2 children that may never live independently, I immediately jumped into function mode and I set 2 goals for myself. And that was to get healthy and make things as normal as possible as I could for my children in the process.
Wow. Did you find yourself when you were going through that, like, how did you, for instance, prepare your children?
That's a really good question. So I quickly, very quickly, and this all happened, within a short span of time, but I got a couple of books that would help maybe explain it, because their cognitive level would have been elementary age. And for me, it was really, really important to use real language. So I talked about my breasts, for example, and I subscribed to the theory of give children information, wait for questions, see how they respond, but don't give them too much. Don't like just dump a bunch of information. So just give them a little bit of information, wait for questions, wait for a response, and kind of like give it a little bit at a time. So I started with, I have a lump in my breast. I need to have surgery to remove it. And, I talked about like who would care for them during surgery, that sort of thing. And so it was really just, like I said, using basic, but also the correct anatomy parts. I wanted to use the real language and explain things as the doctor's going to remove it. And then once it came to chemotherapy, I explained that they were putting medicine into my body to help ensure that the cancer was gone. So one of the biggest questions I get is, if you had a mastectomy, why do you need chemotherapy or radiation? And the thing is cancer is tricky and it likes to hide, and it can be very microscopic. And so the surgeon removes everything that they can see and tissue surrounding the mass. And in my case, they removed both my breasts. However, I was stage 3 and my cancer had migrated to the lymph nodes in my armpit. And so they removed lymph nodes. So they remove as much tissue as they can, but cancer can go rogue. And so chemotherapy and radiation are to ensure that there are no more rogue cancer cells lurking in the body.
And that makes it very clear. It makes so much more sense than just, and I was thinking that myself, that question, like, what if you're having a double mastectomy, why would you need that? And it just makes total sense. But going through that, though, even though it makes sense, what was your feeling about what was transpiring for you, knowing that, for instance, that your children were being cared for at that time, perhaps by someone else? And there must have been so many emotions with that.
Yeah, of course, there's emotions of, from a mom perspective of not being able to care for my children, and the heartache that goes with not being able to be 100% for my children. For the most part, they were with me. It was like, when I had a surgery, they would spend the night with their dad or that sort of thing. But they were with me all through chemo, and they were just thankfully like me, their homebodies, and they would spend. Are you still with me, Janice?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you were just frozen for a minute, so I wanted to make sure that you could still hear me.
I can still hear.
There was feelings of not being a good mom, as I would wake up, this is like during chemo, I would wake up, shower, and maybe lay down and have to take a rest, and then, give them breakfast and lay down and take a rest and that sort of thing. There was feelings of not being a good mom. But again, I just kept reminding myself the goal of getting healthy. Emotion wise for myself, I kind of, yes, I had days that I was sad or down, but I think I put that in a box. And it was after active treatment that I really had to deal with those emotions. And that was just the way that I coped with it.
Right. And I can see that, how that would be for not knowing what to expect, and knowing, okay, these are the procedures and the medical things that I will be going through, but you're also dealing with the emotional and physical and mental aspect of it on such an accelerated pace. And I see that I am frozen,
Yes.
but I hear you here with you, and I had. Oh my gosh, this is the beauty of live podcasting,
right?
But back to the conversation at hand, it just goes to show you that you can't let things stop you in such a way where it puts your life on hold. Yes, with everything that you went to a certain degree, you did have to put your life on hold.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, there was a lot of things on hold because the side effects of, for example, you know, chemotherapy can be very, very difficult to live a day-to-day life. Radiation is a little bit simpler. Each surgery, you know, there's a recovery period. However, thankfully, we're in a period of technology and you can relate to people online or over the phone. And with cancer patients too, you have to be really, really careful with your immune system. And so it's not normal everyday life if you have to stay away from crowds. It's kind of like when COVID hit, I had the thought that, you know, what everybody was going through with having to be so careful with the germs, it's like, oh, cancer patients know what this is like.
Right. I mean, it's more at a heightened level, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're about 5-6 years post surgery. How, if you don't mind me asking, how are you doing? I mean, you look absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Very
Yeah,
radiant.
so I am 7.5 years out from my diagnosis, which means I have no evidence of disease. That is the term they use now, which means there is no current disease in my body that can be detected. And I still go to my oncologist every 3 months, still to this day. Honestly, I have good days and bad days. And this is one of the things with being Breast Cancer Awareness Month that I really love to share with people, because I think many people, even if you know somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer, that you may not know about the struggles and the ongoing struggles. And it's whether it's a result of the cancer treatment itself or ongoing medications, there can be daily struggles. So for example, I wear a compression garment that runs from my armpit to my hand, and that is to control swelling. And that happened as a result of having lymph nodes removed. So even the simple thing of getting dressed is challenging, wearing an additional garment and having a swollen arm. There's joint pain from medications. There's tightness from having had radiation across my chest. So there are things that cancer patients can experience years and years and years beyond forever as a result of cancer treatment. And of course, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have my health. But I just, like in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I like people to understand that for many, it's not just surgery or treatment and you're done and it's over and it's back to every day. You know, even relationships are impacted by cancer treatment for some. And relationships change because perhaps somebody doesn't show up for you. And so as a patient, you might choose to then not continue that. So it's really, for me, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is showing the realities of cancer and honoring those who have passed from this horrible disease, and really encouraging people to whatever not just the cancer, but whatever medical screenings are available to you for whatever it may be. I encourage people to take advantage of screenings and be self-aware of any changes in your body.
And that is so true. And, you know, thank you so much for really from sharing the depth of what you went through, but what you continue to go through. I want to chat about your book now because
I'd love to.
because I really think going for your goals.
Yes.
So important. So why not just have that fearless action? So obviously you wrote the book. When you were writing this, and I love to dig into the nitty-gritty of when someone writes their book. And by the way, I am unfrozen now on video.
Yeah, I know. It's great to see you.
Oh, it's nice to be here. The beauty of live podcasting, you know, and I love what you wrote in your book to me. And I just want to share this with everyone, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
May you embrace fearless action in your life. I say that and I read this like nonstop. In fact, part of my little morning practices, I obviously have your book on my desk. It stays on my desk. And I open it up and I read that to myself. Because there have been so many times, Katherine Marie, where that fear has stopped me. And your book is speaking to me in such a beautiful way. But to take that, to read your book, to take action, to feel the story, like you don't have to have cancer. You don't have to be something. You just have to be yourself and take that fearless action. And that's what I absolutely love about your book. So well written.
Thank you.
You're welcome. When you were writing this amazing book, and by the way, I just want to take a moment and welcome again all of our amazing listeners on the Wisdom Audio app.
Absolutely.
This book, I am telling you, everyone, you have to purchase. And of course, I will make sure that in the Stories That Inspire Us, in the show notes of Katherine Marie's information is in there. And I will also post a blog post on the Truly Your VA website that you can click on my link on the Wisdom Audio app, go to that blog post, which will be up later today, and you'll see all the information there. What I love about this book too is, you write it with such depth. You really share, obviously from a personal point, but how that can apply to somebody else's life. But you also have a reflection. Like, how did you come up to that? You're sitting down writing your book, and and I'm sure there was some planning involved with that. And I think the reflection aspect is such a very poignant way of saying something, like reiterating, but saying, hey, if you, for instance, consistently do your self-exams, I mean, it's just an amazing book.
Thank you. That truly, truly touches my heart. And for you to say that you have it on your desk and you look at that, it just, that makes all of the work worth it. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, the reflections is one of the things that over and over again, people have said that they really stands out to them. And honestly, I can't pinpoint what made me do that. I think that's just how my natural thought process. I like to think about things. I'm very reflective on things, and I love inspirational quotes. And I wanted to give the readers like bite-sized pieces that they could just pull away. And I think that's how it happened. And yeah, if it's okay with you, can I dive into a little bit of the structure of the book?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to share my breast cancer story. I wanted to help people with cancer, but I wanted to appeal to others as well, because like you said, strategy, facing fears and strategy for reaching a goal is not just for breast cancer patients. This strategy that is contained in the book was born from my own fears, literally. It was after active treatment and during my reconstruction process when I was scared to live. I was sitting in my bedroom alone one weekend when my kids weren't home, and I was on my computer chatting with women in a breast cancer support group online. And I was so scared to just get out and live, because I knew from lived experience that life could change in an instant. And it was so scary to just get out there and live and believe that I was okay. And I read something by another patient who said, I don't want to look back decades from now and realized I'd lived my entire life in fear. And that snapped me out of it. And so I share my story in the first part of the book. I share tips for cancer patients and tips for loved ones. And I introduce my ABLE strategy. And ABLE is acknowledge, breathe, listen, and execute. So I'm going to give you a real life example based on myself. I'm not going to point fingers at anybody. But so how this can be used for everyday challenges and fears and goal setting. So for example, I'm working really, really hard on incorporating more exercise, right? I exercise in a therapeutic warm water pool a couple of times a week, but I need to do more. The ongoing medications cause me to gain weight and I'm struggling. And even as a health coach, I have that struggle. So acknowledge, breathe, listen, execute. So in my example of wanting to incorporate more exercise, acknowledge would be acknowledging that I might feel physically tired. I might be overwhelmed with my to-do list. I might be listening to that negative self-talk in my head that's talking me out of the exercise. I have to acknowledge all of those feelings and that negativity in my brain. And then I can breathe. I can take several deep breaths. There are different breathing techniques. There's some in particular that I love, but even taking 3 to 5 deep, deep breaths is really going to ground a person and clear out the clutter so that you can listen. And by listen, I say, I'm thinking about what would bring me joy? What activity would bring me joy? Is it going for a walk in nature? Is it turning on music and dancing? Listening to myself and my heart and my soul. What is going to bring me joy that will also include activity? And also, it can be in this scenario, listening to logic. So for example, I'm awake 16 hours a day, hypothetically. That's 960 minutes. If I exercise 30 minutes a day, that's like 3% of my waking hours. So I am worth 3% of my day. My health is worth 3% of my day. So reframing that, once you're able to ground yourself with breathing and listen, you can reframe things in a way that you can then execute, which is the E. And executing is all about scheduling in this scenario with the exercise, scheduling it into my day to ensure that I honor myself and treat it like an appointment. So that's an everyday example of, I think something people can relate to, like who doesn't need to move more, it's recommended. What is it? I think 150 hours a week. That's a lot. And that's why I like to break it down to 3% per day. So that's something I think everybody can relate to in terms of goal setting and wanting to move past a feeling, whether it's fear or others, to reach a goal. And so that strategy is included in the book, as well as the last chapter is, in Fearless Action is about holistic health in the workplace. And I included that because cancer patients talked about how important it was that employers support them. And so I wanted to throw that out there for the people that, and I think it's important and relevant to this time period too, when employers are wanting to bring people back, but people are wanting to work at home, and how can they create a nourishing environment.
And it's also and thank you so much for sharing that. It's also creating that nourishing environment for ourselves, which sometimes we don't know how to go about doing that. I relate back, of course, to my son's accident and, or life is abruptly shifted in ways that I never imagined. And it's like, okay, well, how do I get back to where I need to be with all that stuff going on? Life happens, but also life happens in a way, I think, that, we hit that pause for reflection moment. And, what are we able to learn? What are we able to acknowledge, breathe, learn, and execute, and not just apply to, of course, breast cancer. And I'm sure that is such a relevant tool beyond a reasonable doubt for breast cancer patients, but reflective of what other people are going through too, that they can relate to that and, read this book and look at these suggestions and apply it in a way that works with their lifestyle. Because as you said, like, you broke it down, 3%, of your time.
Right.
What you said is you are worth it, and you are.
Right. Absolutely. Our health is worth whatever time we put into it. And when it was after my cancer diagnosis, I went back to school and studied with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And that's where I learned the concept of holistic health. And it really resonated with me. And yes, the exercise, that 3% is important, but so is our family or our friends or the relationships that we have. So is the food we nourish ourselves with. And so is our stress management. So all of those pieces together are so vital for our health. And that is my biggest takeaway from my cancer experience and the resulting education and experiences, is that taking into consideration all areas of our health is so vital. And yes, there might be twists and turns that derail us from whatever goals we have. That is completely natural. But that's when you regroup and you take a look at whatever changes you want to make, and you can implement the ABLE strategy.
Now, I'm very curious to know, what are your goals? Like, what is, like, maybe one goal that you're working to achieve, and is that on the very near horizon?
Yes. And I don't even think I've shared this with you on the side, so this is very exciting to reveal. What I'm working on is some health and wellness master classes. These are going to be on-demand videos available on my website, inspiredvitality.life. I am creating a series. Well, initially, I'm creating a series. So the first is going to be stress management. The second is all about diving deep into holistic health. And the third is diving into the ABLE strategy. And I am creating these for the general public, but also I am going into a new niche, and I am creating specific ones for attorneys or legal providers, and a way for them to gain their continuing legal education credits. So there will be some videos specifically for attorneys. I'm applying for accreditation through the Minnesota Bar. So this, for right now, would be through Minnesota only for Minnesota attorneys, where I am, and unless I expand in the future. But all of these health and wellness classes will also be available to the general public. And like I said, they'll be available through my website, inspiredvitality.life. I'm still doing the behind the scenes work. And so I anticipate that by the end of 2022, I will have at least a couple of these videos up and available. And hopefully sooner, hopefully in time for the craziness of the holidays. But is some, the development process can sometimes throw in its own twists and turns.
Yes, and isn't that so apropos, because as we all know, life does have those twists and turns. And I think too, though, from every experience, good, bad, or indifferent, we learn and we grow from it in such a way. And if we can do that in a way that honors our journey and inspires others, and I mean, how beautiful is that? You were able to educate, inspire, and empower in so many beautiful ways. And that's what life is all about.
Yes. Yes. And you hit the nail on the head. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Again, I want to welcome everyone from Wisdom who's currently on. Thank you so much for being here. And we have time for one guest to come up. If you'd like to ask Katherine Marie a question, or maybe share your journey and kind of add to the conversation and topic at hand. Katherine Marie, are you also possibly writing another book?
I would say not at this time. I have not dismissed the idea. And I still have my young adults now. My children are now 22. They are still home with me full time. And one of my lessons through cancer is to be aware of not overextending myself. So I am very careful about managing my time and not overstressing myself. And the writing of a new book isn't in the works right now, but I'm not dismissing it for the future.
Well, that's good to know, because as I said, Fearless Action is an amazing book, and born out of fear of cancer.
That's right.
Wellness strategies, passion, unique strategies, and the stories of perseverance to live your life in a way that honors you and your journey. I just think I am inspired. Wow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Katherine Marie, how can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you?
Thank you for asking. Let's see. I have a Facebook page, Inspired Vitality of Minnesota. So that is one way. Certainly people can reach out to me through there. And my YouTube channel is Inspired Vitality, that is full of resources. And there will be updates about those on-demand videos on both Facebook and YouTube once I get those up and running. And my email address, if somebody would like to contact me directly, is HHC for Holistic Health Coach, Katherine, KATHERINE @gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I, of course, will make sure that all of your contact information is in the show notes. Katherine, I can't thank you enough for being here today. And I hope that you will definitely consider to come back to the Stories That Inspire Us podcast, so we can dive into more conversations and inspire others.
I would love that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Folks, I am truly inspired today. I just can't tell you how good it feels to look at this book each morning and know that in maybe some little way that perhaps my taking fearless action hopefully has inspired others. I know that today I am certainly inspired by Katherine Marie's story, and who wouldn't be? It's just mind-blowing on so many different levels. Wisdom, thank you so much to all my listeners who are listening live today. And I so thank you again. The blog posts will be on my profile page here on Wisdom, and the blog post will be up later today. And you, of course, can reach out to me. Remember that if you have a story to share, It's that important. Someone needs to hear it. Thank you so much for being here today, and signing off for now on wisdom, and then we'll do our sign off on the podcast here. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Wow. Stories that inspire us / the author series. Wow. I can't say that enough. You know, when you go through a life-altering change, it really affects the trajectory of everything going on in your life. Know that you are not alone, and that there are different people, there are different resources that can help you with whatever you've been through, whatever you may go through. Don't hesitate to reach out. My name is Janice Malillo, the host of Stories That Inspire Us / the author series. And today I was truly inspired and continue to be inspired by this amazing lady, Katherine Marie. Truly, her story has inspired and will continue to inspire others. Thank you so much, Katherine Marie.
Thank you, Janice, and thank you to all your listeners. I just truly appreciate you, and thank everybody for being here.
Thank you so much. Okay, everybody, we're signing off for now. Don't forget, I just want to remind you, if you have a story to share, that means someone needs to hear it. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.